Hi, I'm Mr. Miyagi and this is Mr. Miyagi's Workshop. Well, I had a question of where I got my custom pedal for one of the kickstart bikes I have, for the old XS650. Let's take a look at it. Now you can see that's not a stock pedal on there. And I had to do some modifications to make this brass foot pedal work. So let's go back over to the bench and then I'll kind of show you what I did. Now when you're doing this, you do have to remove the rubber. Now you can pry these off, or you can do like I did and just cut it loose. Now depending on the year, there's going to be different thicknesses of shaft. So let me show you this shaft here. We'll take off this rubber. And like I said, the quick and easy, this is all tore up anyway, so the quick and easiest way to do this is just cut it, making sure your fingers are clear. So now we got it. So you can see the difference thickness in the shafts here. So measuring the smaller one here, which is roughly around 49 thousandths, or just under a ½ inch, or 12.6 millimeters, right around there. And then of course this other one is much bigger, and that's around 15.5 millimeters, and this is roughly around 60 thousandths, which would be closer to a 5/8 hole. Now there's a couple ways you can do it. Now you can bore these pedals out when you buy them. Now I got this out of J&P Cycle, and it's a good brass little pedal. That's what I used on the other one over there, and I was attempting to bore it out, but the problem is if you don't have it lined up properly, you're going to come out the one side, which I ended up doing. So you want to be aware of that. And then this was set up for the larger hole. This had like I was running a 5/8 drill bit through that. It would be nice if you could find one that was down under around a ½ inch. These work a little better and a little easier to deal with. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. You can cut this tip off of here and then have a section of a bolt or whatever, and like this came with it, this pedal here. They all come with where's another one here? See, here's a bicycle style one, and then it also comes with the kick shaft. Now these are all for Harley Davidsons. And one of the other things you can do is you can cut this tip off of there, and the unit that comes with it, if you're just going to modify your stock XS650, you can cut that off and weld that tip right on there, which I'm going to do here and I'll show you. And that's what it looks like welded together. So you could just slip your other piece on there. You can see what it looks like. You can see that, this is all welded on. This is probably stronger than cutting this piece off and welding this end on here. Plus you don't change the angle or you don't do anything with it. And then you're just inserting your kick pedal on there. Flat washer, maybe a little on there, a locking nut, and you're good to go. Now with this style here, the thicker style, you do have an option too where you could smooth this all out and then drill down the center and tap so that you could put a screw in there to hold this whole thing together. But then you're going to have to still enlarge this pedal. But you're back to either tapping or welding these units here and spending time drilling this out. There's actually another way that you can get around and do this without too much expense, but you're going to end up having to buy a complete kick lever for a Harley Davidson. I actually prefer this style, the collapsing style, because then it does kick back inside the case. With the standard stick out, it's going to it'd be hanging out here. Most likely with this style here, these tend to get in the way of your right leg as you're riding down the road, and when you come to a stop, they could cause a little bit of problems or whatever. But I regress. Let's get back to how do I make a Harley Davidson setup fit on that shaft. Okay, let's get to it. So inside your housing here, you have a kickstart mechanism, which has a flip spring for engaging the gear so you can kick the motor over, and a return spring. Now all this has to be lined up properly before you get into doing any modifications. So before you take anything apart and whatever, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and mark your straight line, your center lines through the pivot area, and I'm talking about where your kickstart pivots through the actual kickstart shaft. So just draw a line straight down through there, then you can get an idea of where everything is supposed to be lined up at. Because if you're going to put this pedal on there, you definitely want to follow the same angle and everything. So to get these off, you remove your back screw. This unscrews, and then sometimes you may end up having to pry these a little bit in this area to get them to slide off, and then they'll slide off of there. One thing also you want to do is you want to make sure that you drain all the oil out of your engine, because this is going to make a mess. Have a pan down underneath there. So we're going to pull all these screws out of here that hold this case on. You're probably going to have to tap a little bit and it'll come off. Well, when you're pulling the side case off, place your thumb right there to hold pressure on that kickstart mechanism, because it'll come out with it. And just wiggle that case off of there. Sometimes you may end up having to pry it a little bit, but be very careful that you're not marring the surface. And then this just push that back in and hold it, and then your cover comes off. So there's your kickstart mechanism. Now, of course, this doesn't have the clutch or anything in there, but what's going on is that this has a stop. This right here is your stop, and there's a piece of casted metal that's casted, steel that's casted in with the case, so when this mechanism comes up, that's where it stops. That's what keeps it from going all the way around. And then this is your return spring, and then this little guy here there's a little guide area in there that it fits into, and it's a compression fit. So when you kick, what that does is it kicks that out, and that goes into the drive area, which kicks the motor over. So to get these out of here, sometimes you got to take your old kickstart pedal and just kind of work them out. And then this little spring up here sometimes can be a little bit of a bugger, but wiggle it a little bit, get the pressure off of it, and it should slide right out of there. So now you've got the mechanism out. So let's go to the vise, and then I'll show you how to lay this all out. So what I'm doing here is that we know that the line goes right this way through here, and that is going to be at this point right here is going to be the peak. So we need to scratch in a surface area here so we know which way to grind down on this. these are all going to be 45-degree cuts off of this. What I'm going to do, I'll do with my little scratcher, there it is. I'm going to lay out one section of this, and I'm just going to mark it. Now you're going to have to be careful with this, and I would suggest that you can find these kickstart mechanisms on eBay and whatever, and I've seen them on there as cheap as 20 bucks. And see if you can't find one in case you really want to go back to using your stock kickstart setup. So I'm going to take this over to my grinder, and I'm going to surface this area, and I'll show you what's going on here afterwards. Now you can see here, I didn't grind really far into this yet. I'm taking my time as I'm grinding into these areas here. I've got this little marks on both edges here. Let me show you. I have these marks right here that I'm trying to grind to very carefully, and then we'll add some more at this side over here and on this on the lower end of it. So I'm going to go over there and grind this and set this up. Okay. Alrighty. Well, you can see that worked out quite well. Yeah, there's no insides to this motor. That's why I'm really, really strong. But that works quite well. So if you wanted to modify this kick mechanism, you could. I would suggest that you buy another one just in case you want to go back to your stock kick pedal. Buying the kick parts, you just have to go online and find the best deal. I've seen a couple of good prices on J&P Cycle for these. These mechanisms here, the fold-out ones, are the most expensive. They're going to be around 70, 80 bucks for complete. And whether you can get it with the wide kick, I don't know. A lot of times they just come with the standard round kick, so that you'll have to look out for. But you can always find these arms. I mean, J&P Cycle has one. I think it was like 30 bucks with the kick arm and this style of pedal on there. Hey, it works, for 30 bucks. What the heck? And like they also had this, I guess, it was about 30 bucks just for the pedal itself. So it's however you want to go about it. I'm just giving you some ideas out there. I kind of like this. This will be just fine. You may, like I said, you may not like the idea that it sticks out a little further. Depending on the bike and how you've got it set up. But it's a pretty cool setup, and it's a strong way of going. It just takes a little bit of work. So if there's any comments or questions, you can put them in the comment section below, or you can send them to my email address at tmiyagi@hotmail.com. And if you've liked this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget that ringy-dingy button up there for next episode coming up. So this is Mr. Miyagi saying, be safe out there. Hope to see you on the road.